Your children are not responsible for your feelings. I'm going to say that again. Your children are not responsible for your feelings. And I know this statement might make some of y'all feel a little bit uncomfortable because obviously our children's choices can have some type of effect on us. They can most definitely hurt our feelings. They can disappoint us. They can make us angry. They can even make decisions that we may not even agree with. But there is a distinct difference between your child's behavior affecting your own emotions and making your child responsible for managing your emotions. And I think sometimes without realizing it, parents tend to cross that line. Now let's get it understood. We tend to say things like, after all I've done for you, or you know, it hurts me when you do yada, yada, yada. Or we withdraw, we become cold. We even may give the silent treatment sometimes to our children, or make our disappointment so heavy that the child learns my parent is always unhappy. It's my responsibility to make them happy again. And eventually, the child becomes an adult who is terrified of disappointing people. There's that people pleasing. Okay. They struggle to say no. They may even feel guilty for having boundaries, simple boundaries, even boundaries to handle the things that they are actually supposed to be handling. They second guess questions that are perfectly healthy for them just because somebody doesn't like them. So I want to talk about the actual role of a parent. Because our job is not to raise children to become responsible for us. Our job is to raise children who are equipped to eventually live without us. So yes, the goal is for our children to be able to live without us, to not have to need us, to not have to rely on us. Like, duh. And believe it or not, scripture actually does give responsibility to both sides, not just the child. The scripture, the word, sure, it gives instruction for both sides. There are instructions for parents and there are instructions for children when it comes to that parent-child dynamic. First of all, children are entrusted to parents, not assigned to them to manage them. So we always say often when someone is expecting a child is, oh, it's a gift from God, it's a gift, it's a gift. Yes, but how do you perceive that gift? Do you perceive that gift as a way for you to have a human being that you have to pour into? Or are you perceiving that gift as another human being who can just pour into you? Okay, Ephesians chapter 6 verses 1 through 4 is especially powerful when it describes the family and the parent child dynamic. Because people choose to quote the scripture a lot, especially parents. Parents love to quote, obey your children, obey your parents in the Lord, for your days shall be longer on earth, right? We hear that over and over and over again. For some of us, it probably has been beat into our head at this point, all right? But what people do not tend to do is read a little further, okay? So Paul doesn't stop there though, because he doesn't stop at just telling children to obey their parents. He also goes on to say, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in discipline and instruction of the Lord. That would be Ephesians 6:4. In other words, the biblical parent relationships aren't built around unlimited parental authority with no accountability for how that parent makes their children feel, okay? And let me be really clear. The Bible often describes people as he, fathers, him. They often use male pronouns. Also means the mamas too. So everyone, the parents, mother and fathers. Okay, mother and fathers, don't provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in discipline and instruction of the Lord. Discipline and instruction of the Lord. Okay. Colossians chapter 3 verses 21, it makes it even more clearer. Fathers, do not provoke your children lest they become discouraged. Again, Bible uses male pronouns, but they talking about everybody. Okay, so God actually addresses the emotional impact parents can have on their children. A parent's behavior can discourage a child, and scripture tells the parent to take responsibility for that. That means take accountability for that. Okay, child shouldn't become the parent's emotional caretaker. In fact, it is the parent's job to not coddle. That's not the word I'm looking for. What's the word I'm looking for? It's up to the parent to be responsible for the child's emotions, especially before they are of age. So you cannot expect a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old to have the emotional intelligence of a full-grown adult when a lot of parents who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s do not have the emotional intelligence of an adult. So, in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 14, it's actually extra fascinating because Paul uses the parent-child dynamic or relationship as an illustration and says, for children are not obligated to save up for their parents, but parents for their children. So I became a mother at the age of 25, I believe. I was 25 years old when I had my first child. I only had 2, okay? And that's another discussion for another day because I also believe that the number of children that you decide to have also fits into whether or not you can be, an effective parent, if you can parent effectively, right? So that's another discussion for another day, child. So, and anywho, I have been working all my life. I had my first job since I was 15 years old, okay? Had my first daughter when I was about 25 years old. I was already working. I was well into the workforce, already had a full-time job, 401k, yada, 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 yada. Okay, so ever since I became a mother, though, and I mean from the very first time I got off that stick, I knew, and not that stick, I meant like the pee stick, the pregnancy test. Jesus. I mean the pregnancy test. Ever since I got up off the pregnancy test, I knew exactly the type of mother that I was going to be. I was not about to play with my babies or nothing. Like it was on like popcorn. Okay, so having children, or I was already a driven person because I've already talked about how I've been hyper vigilant my whole entire life. Like just always got to be on top of everything. Always on top of everything. But becoming a mother opened up a whole nother floodgate of being hyper vigilant. So now I have another human to be responsible for. And her father, who is my husband, he's been in the picture from the very beginning. But I'm a mother and I'm not going to just lay back and do nothing knowing that I have a child. So of course I still have my own goals, my own dreams. There's a certain type of life I still wanted my children to live. So I got on it and I made sure I had it popping. So I've always kept a job, always tried to do what I had to do. My husband as well, he always did what he had to do. We wanted our children to have a different life. I didn't personally, I don't think he did either. I don't know, but I know I'm only speaking on me. Okay. So for me, I've never had the experience of growing up in the hood or in impoverished areas. Thank God. Right. So I knew that I did not want my children to do that. When I'm having children, I'm considering all things. So education, what if I don't want to put my kid in public school? There's times when my kids have gone to private school. Even the school coming up, it's not really a public school, it's a charter school, but still, if I was prepared to go the private route if we had to. So when I'm considering the things that it takes to take care of a child, it's not just making sure they have a place to live. It's not just making sure that they can have a meal every day. Like my children, I want to make sure that they have all that they need and more. So it's important to me to make sure that if we need to pivot, we can afford private school. Making sure that we live in decent homes, decent areas. We just bought a brand new house somewhere. Two-time homeowner. Me and my husband are two-time homeowners. Like all of this stuff has been important to me. I do not believe that it's my job. It's my job to just sit back and wait for my child to get old and then use my son as a way to, get the type of life that I needed. It's my job to pass something down to them. So even if they don't even want this house, sell it, do what you will. But this house is going to be theirs. Whatever I have is going to be theirs. It's my job. It's me and my husband's job to prepare life for them, not to sit around and wait and mooch off, or not mooch. I don't want to say mooch. Sorry, y'all. It's not my job to just sit around and try to just reap the fruits of their labor. Like, I'm going to get it on my own, and I'm going to pass down what they have, pass down what I have to them, and they could benefit from me. I'm not supposed to benefit from them. I just had a conversation with my daughter today, and because I saw this post on TikTok. This post on TikTok was talking about basically how some some of us, the older generations, like millennials and some of the Gen X's and everything, we grew up in environments where we always had this mindset. By the time we was about 12, 13, 14, it was like, man, I can't wait I can't wait to become an adult. I can't wait to get my own. I can't wait to get up out of here. I know that was like a lot of mentality for a lot of us, right? So out of curiosity, it was funny because it made me think of this conversation I had with my daughter. Out of curiosity, the other day, we had just asked her, like, hey, do you have any goals? Like, I know you're only 12 and everything, but do you ever think about like what life would be like as an adult? Like, do you ever want to think you want to move out or anything? And this conversation kind of started up because I had asked her to do a chore. I asked her to clean the bathroom or something. And, she was like being all dramatic about the cleaner. Like, the cleaner was strong. It was like some Lysol spray. It was kind of strong. And she was being all dramatic, she backed all the way up in the hallway. And I'm like, babe, you good? And she like, the cleaner is just strong. The cleaner is strong. And I'm just like, now, let me ask you something. I was like, when you become an adult, do you plan on living on your own? Because you're going to have to clean your own place. Like, I'm not understanding. So she was just looking at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, you don't plan on living on your own? Like, you don't plan on getting your own place? And it was just something that she hadn't thought about it right now. And I'm cool with that. She only 12. So no 12-year-old should be already trying to, create an escape plan to get up out of their family home. But what I'm saying is that I was kind of impressed. Not impressed, but I felt it made me feel good that that just never crossed her mind. That makes me feel like, or believe that we are giving her a good childhood. She's enjoying her childhood, so it's not anything that she feels like she has to run away from. Okay. Where was I? I forgot. I'm getting off topic. So anyways, we do all that we are doing right now to make sure that we can have something for our kids, leave something to our kids, be able to give something to our kids. It's not, we're not supposed to just sit around and wait for them to make it be successful and then think we just gonna, reap the benefits of their hard work. So another thing that we discussed was, today we had a conversation and I was asking her again, I was telling her about the TikTok video I saw, and I let her hear it. I don't know why I let her hear it, because it was kind of out of control. The man, he was like doing a lot of cussing or whatever, but she listened. She was cool. And she was like, I was like, so you don't even think about moving out? I said, do you think about anything else, like a career? Like, what you want to do when you grow up? And she was like, I already told you. And I was like, well, what is it? And I forgot. She did tell me that she wanted to be a storm chaser. So I was like, okay, well, when you become a storm chaser, because that make that money, when you make that storm chasing money, what do you plan on doing? You just plan on living with mommy and daddy, or like what? Or do you just plan on buying a nice car? You think you just want to have a better car than me sitting in the driveway? And she was just like, no. She was like, she said she wanted her own place. She said she wanted her own car, but of course, and then something else she said that kind of struck me, and she just said, she said, donate, child. She said, I want to donate some of my money to you and daddy. And I was like, girl, donate? What you mean donate? But she was saying that she doesn't mind giving us money when she makes it big. I'm not asking for it and I'm not looking for it. I literally told her, you don't have to do that. But I thought it was sweet that she had that thought, that mindset, that gesture. Like, my children have just oh my God, they just have such the biggest hearts ever. Like, they are just, two beautiful little humans, I tell you. So, anywho's, back to the quote that Paul said in 2 Corinthians 12:14. He said, For children are not obligated to save up for their parents, but parents for their children. The immediate context is talking about material and financial provision, of course, but the direction of responsibility in this analogy is very significant. Parents ordinarily pour into and prepare for their children, not the other way around. So it's a parent's job to pour into their child each and every way that they can. I see so many parents on TikTok, like older parents. I don't know if they're in the boomer generation. I don't know. All they do is make TikToks whining about how their overgrown adult children are living their own lives. I don't know. I'm at this point, I'm confused on what these people actually want. You don't expect your 30-year-old child or your 40-year-old child to be single all their life and just be up under you. I'm confused. I am so confused. The point of being a parent is to pour into your child and prepare them for the real world so that they can get to a point where they don't need you. The true test of knowing if you're a good parent or if you were a good parent is when your children are good and grown, they no longer rely on you for basic food, shelter, necessities, and things like that, and they still want to be around you. That's when you know you've done something right. That's when you know you've done something right. My children are still minors. But I know that we're on a healthy path because my children be wanting to just chill up in my room. I can't get them out my room or out my bed. Get out. They always up under me. So that gives me an inclination that we are indeed doing something right. They'll come and have the most randomest conversations with us. I tell my kids all the time, I don't understand Gen Alpha. I don't understand I don't know what language you're speaking. I don't understand. I do not understand Gen Alpha. Break it down for me. I have to do a full Google search. And some of these words that made it to Webster's dictionary. I don't know how, but I don't speak Gen Alpha. But the fact that they even want to always be up under us, showing us stuff, teaching us stuff. We working with our son right now on stuff. Like, our children are our world. They really are. And I do not expect my child to take care of me. I don't expect my children to take care of me. I don't expect them to police my emotions. I don't expect them to coddle me. Tell me whatever you have to tell me. Let's get it out there and let's be done. You don't have to check my temperature. You don't have to do any of that. Like, how we feeling? Let's get to it. Because it's my responsibility to make sure you're good. It's my responsibility to make sure your feelings are intact. It's my responsibility to make sure your mental health is intact. I got my own mental health. I know how to handle mine. I go to therapy every week. I know how to handle mine. It's my job to make sure your mental health is intact. And when it's not, then it's my job to fix it. It's my job to have conversations with you. It's my job to hear you out. It's my job that if you need it, we going to go to therapy together, boo. It's like, we not doing it. Like, absolutely not. Okay, so with that said, a child should never grow up thinking like, oh gosh, my mom is upset, I have to fix it, I want her to be happy again. Or, oh gosh, dad is disappointment, so dad is disappointed, so I must change my direction or change my decision. Or if I establish this boundary, I'm hurting my parent. Or if my parent feels lonely, I'm responsible for filling the void. Or if they're angry with me, I must have done something wrong. And those are just too big of emotions for a child to have on their shoulders. It's too much for a kid. They can't even navigate their own emotions, but y'all be expecting them to navigate yours. Child. Parents are supposed to prepare children to become independent adults. The goal is to want your child independent. But a lot of these parents, especially these parents I see on TikTok whining all day long, they just want their grown child to remain dependent on them. And my favorite ones are when they go in these comments. I read the comments and everything. They in the comment section talking about, yeah, my daughter got married and now she doesn't want nothing to do with me. I know it's the husband. Or my son got married and now he doesn't even call me. I know it's the wife. Is it? Let me break something down for y'all. Sometimes it takes a relationship with a healthy, sound-minded individual for the grown child to realize just how much they was stuck in a pattern of dysfunction. I'm telling you. Maybe no. Maybe being up under their spouse, first of all, is what they're supposed to do. Is biblically correct. Let's start there. Leave and cleave. Okay. First of all, it's biblically correct. Secondly, being up under someone, maybe being up under their spouse makes them feel, oh my gosh, this just feels so much better. Like it's not, I don't have all these expectations. I get the rest. I know for a fact my husband don't have no problem with me resting. Let me tell you, okay? This man has never, ever, ever raised his voice at me. This man has never, ever, ever, ever judged me. This man never called me out my name. This man has never done anything. This man, if I'm tired, baby, lay down. I got it. Sometimes when those grown adult children get up under a spouse who actually cares about them and cares for them, it makes them see like, okay, so all of this I was dealing with all this long time was just not right. Or it's much peaceful over here. Like I don't have to fulfill all these unnecessary expectations. I don't have to do all these things like you're doing and doing and doing. And I think that's what it is. Your children are not responsible for your emotions. Go get you a friend, go get you a man, whatever it is you need to do. Go get you a man, go get you a friend, go get you a woman, go get you something. But it's not your child's job to, better yet, go to therapy. Better yet, it's not your child's responsibility to manage your feelings, manage your emotions. What kind of life are they going to live for their own if they're always doing whatever you want them to do, exactly how you want them to do it? They're not living their life. I want my children to live their lives. I want them to enjoy their lives. They're kids, they're mine right now, and when they are adults, they belong to them. They are their own people. Even now, they are their own people. They have autonomy over their own bodies. Give me a hug. I don't feel like giving you a hug. Okay, you don't have to give me a hug. I'm not forcing you to give me a hug. It's called boundaries. It's called boundaries. That's why a lot of adults these days don't even know what boundaries are because nobody has taught them as a child. They weren't taught it's okay if somebody doesn't want to hug you. Doesn't mean they don't love you. They don't feel like being touched right there at the moment. If someone don't feel like talking to you right now, doesn't mean that they don't love you. They just don't feel like speaking right now. Everybody has a story. Everybody has things that they're dealing with. Everybody has something. Everybody has something. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6 says, train up a child in the way that he should go. So the language here is train. You're preparing someone who will eventually become capable of walking. That's the goal, though. You want your child to walk. I'm talking about children who are born, they grow up, they start. When you're born, you can't do anything. You're just sitting in your little carrier, dangling your feet, whatever. As time goes on, you start crawling. Then when you start crawling, after that you start walking. That's supposed to be the process. But some of these parents don't even want you crawling. They don't even want you walking. They don't want you crawling. They don't want you to do anything. They want to keep you stuck in a state where only you need them, where you can remain dependent on them. And that's not biblical. That's not what the word says. Okay, so Genesis also establishes an even bigger transition, right? So it says in Genesis 2:24, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife. Leave and cleave. I just said this. Leaving isn't dishonor, independence isn't rejection, and boundaries aren't disrespectful. Disagreement isn't rebellion simply because a parent dislikes the decision. And a parent's sadness, their disappointment, their anger, or difficulty adjusting to their adult child's independence does not automatically create an obligation for their child to surrender their own independence to please their parent. Your child can love you without being responsible for you. Parents are allowed to have feelings, no doubt about it. I'm a parent and I'm a child, so I see both sides. I'm in both sides. I see both sides. So parents are allowed to have feelings, no doubt about it. Of course, we're going to experience hurt, fear, disappointment, loneliness, worry, and even frustration concerning our children. But feelings belong to us to process appropriately. Yes, as a parent, my children have done things that may have disappointed me or may have done things that totally agree with, but that doesn't change my love for them. I don't shut down and stop talking to my kids because they did something that I didn't agree with. The bond gonna stay there. They my babies for life. So I guess to all of the boomer parents, who I don't even know what generation this is, but just the parents who was just spending their time on TikTok whining and crying about how their adult children, oh, they don't have time for me. That's the goal. They're enjoying their life. Support them or don't. But I don't. What else do you expect? What else do you expect? Either you've equipped them enough for what they need and they can handle life and they're ready to fly on their own, or you've made childhood so unbearable for them that now they just rather not deal with anything that reminds them of that. Parenting is ministry. Motherhood is ministry. Fatherhood is ministry. It's ministry. Pouring into your children is ministry. Stewarding your children is ministry. It's all ministry. Sometimes all it takes is just a really one good, honest, genuine conversation. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Also, stop blaming the therapist. These people really be on TikTok blaming everybody but themselves. It's never, oh, I did da 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 da. It's always, oh, they got married or they started dating somebody and da da da, and they tore me up, they tore us apart, they tore our family apart, and it's the therapist telling them. First of all, therapists do not tell you what to do. They don't tell anybody what to do. 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, when someone comes to therapy and already says, oh, I'm no contact, or I don't speak to insert parent, I don't speak to insert parent here, I don't speak to them anymore, they've already come with that. They've already started doing it. Their mind has already been made up. Therapists help you see another perspective. But if your adult child is in therapy, running down a laundry list of reasons of why they decided to go no contact with their parent, what do you think a therapist is going to tell them? Go back and deal with it. Go back and keep being emotionally abused. Go back and keep being mentally abused. No. First of all, like I said, they don't tell people what to do. That's first and foremost. Second of all, therapists, they listen to your perspective and try to give you a different perspective. What if such and such and such? Just to try to open your mind up to another point of view. But most of the time, these people have already had their minds made up. And like I said, they already have a whole laundry list of why they stopped dealing with said person. So stop blaming the therapist. Don't be blaming them people for doing their job. Your child can love you without being responsible for you. Parents are allowed to have feelings. Of course, we're going to experience hurt, fear, disappointment, loneliness, worry, and even frustration concerning our children because we teach them things and we hope and we pray that whatever we teaching them is sticking with them. Like, don't be out too late. Don't hang with the wrong people. Watch the company you keep. Things like that. But we're still going to worry. Of course, it's natural for parents to worry about things like that. But our feelings belong to us. And it's our job to process those feelings appropriately. They're not responsible for our feelings. If they say, Mom, Dad, or I'm talking about adult children, Mom, Dad, I don't feel like coming over today. I don't feel like whatever. You want to do lunch? I don't feel like it. I'm not in the mood. I have this, that, and the third going on. Okay, dear, let me know when you're available or I'll check back later. That doesn't mean go silent. Don't say nothing to them. I mean, come on now. Like, have the consideration that you will want someone to have for you. That's all it is. Your adult children are allowed to live their adult lives, especially if they've been taking care of you for most of their childhood. Let them enjoy the life that they have left, for God's sakes. Anyways, we don't hand We don't hand our feelings to our children and say, now change yourself so mommy and daddy don't have to feel this. You have to change so I don't have to feel this hurt, or I don't have to feel this pain. I don't have to feel this. I want you to change so I don't have to feel this. That's not what a parent is supposed to do. As a parent, handle your own emotions. I'm a parent, 2 children. Like I said, they may do things I don't like. I don't make it their responsibility to regulate my emotions. I regulate my own emotions. Even if I have to step away, take a breather, come back, speak to them calmly in a calm, respectful tone. Oh, I know a lot of y'all don't want to hear that you have to speak to your kids respectfully. Yeah, speak to your kids respectfully, because then they'll respect you. You don't get to treat your child any kind of way and want all this undue respect. I don't understand it. Anyways, so that type of parent who just hands their emotions to their child and just says like, you need to fix this. This is up to you to fix. That becomes important when a child becomes an adult. A healthy parent can say, I don't necessarily like your decision, but you're an adult and I respect it. It's your decision to make. And still be there for them, still love them. Instead of, after everything I've done for you, how can you do this to me? That's not how you respond to your adult children. Okay, the first option, simply saying, I don't necessarily agree with your decision, but I respect it. You're an adult and I respect that. That is a communication of love, and a love without ownership. So you're loving your child without them making it feel like they have to own your emotions based off of how they decide to live, right? Or their decision, or whatever it is that they may decide that they want to do that doesn't align with what you feel like they need to do, or what they should do. All right. So the second option of, after all I've done for you, that type of stuff, that makes a child feel responsible for managing their parents' emotional response. So that's when they tend to just bottle things up, keep things in. I can't tell my mom how I'm feeling or I can't tell my dad how I'm feeling because it's going to make him upset, or it's going to make her upset. And then when you add on top of that, because a lot of y'all don't even like to talk to your children about different things that's just going on in life, just based on that, it makes them feel like, well, I don't have anywhere to go to with my feelings. So then they start looking for love in the wrong places. Okay, have the conversations with your kid. It's not about asking a child for permission. When we were moving, I sat and had conversations with my children. I was not asking my children for their permission to move. It was simply a conversation. Hey, this is what mommy and daddy is doing. And hey, how do you feel about that? If you're okay with it, great. If you're not, let's talk about it. Let's work through it. And when those months of us preparing to move, leading up to even after we moved, there was still conversation. How you feeling now? I know we only been here for X amount of days, a month, so da 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 da. How are you feeling now? They're about to start a brand new school, so the conversations have already started to prep for school. Like, we are not playing around here. Like, real life Huxtables over here. So anyways, the second option makes the adult child feel responsible for managing their parents' emotional response. In my last episode, which is titled "You Had It All Along," I was referring to the story of the Wiz and how Dorothy, the Tin Man, and all of them, they were spending time walking around Oz, trying to get the things that they were asking for. So whether it was a brain, courage, a heart, a way back home, they were walking through Oz all this time looking for something. And by the end of the movie, they discovered like, oh, I already had this. So sometimes, like I said in that last episode, you don't really know what God equips you with until you're in a position where you have to use it, okay? And this kind of ties into that, right? So as parents, we are earthly parents. We are responsible for our children in the earth realm. And part of raising children is equipping them with the things that they need to handle the real world, okay? So whether it's how to navigate relationships, not just romantic ones, but how to navigate friendships, how to navigate working relationships, how to navigate just life in general, how to handle things, how to pay a bill, how to budget, the type of foods that they should be eating, all kinds of things that you should be like all kinds of things that parents are tasked to teach their children. And a lot of parents just drop the ball. And instead of just saying, I messed up, and taking full accountability and changing, because an apology without changed behavior is just manipulation for real. So anyway, that story, or my last episode of You Had It All Along, kind of ties into this episode right here, because part of equipping your children is raising them so that eventually they don't need us to make every single little decision or do every little thing for them. If we've done our job effectively, they should increasingly possess the wisdom, the discernment, the confidence, the boundaries, and the ability to seek God for themselves and make their own decisions. And the goal of parenting is to raise children who remain emotionally dependent on us, not children that we have to depend on them for emotional regulation. They should always, regardless of how old they are, they should always be able to come back home. Home is not the house. Home is not the house. Home is supposed to be mom and dad. I know no matter how old I am, I can always go back to mom and dad with my emotions, whether I'm happy, sad, or whatever, and they're going to support me. They're going to lift me up. They're going to help me out. That's what being a parent is to equip your children. And eventually we have to trust what we put inside of them. If you enjoyed this video and you found it to be inspiring, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, share it with a friend who may also need to see this. And until next time, let's get it understood.